Well, I was going to say, here's a weird one. The blinking LED on this MPU would blink at a super fast rate, something I've never seen before. As soon as I started filming, it was blinking at a normal rate, but it's still really not booting. And the problem is going to be the 6809. Let me change that out. That's more like it. That's what the startup sequence is supposed to be. I should film this for the pin wiki. Let me start one more time. That is perfect. So it's got Slugfest level 1 ROM in it. And it's probably going to say something like soundboard interface error here in just a moment. No, check 114 and 115, which means that it can't see switch 24, or that it can't see some of the optos in the game. But this was the failed microprocessor, so it gets a big gold X on top of it, and we'll lay that aside. Let me add the rest of the components to this board set. All right, back with the Slugfest MPU, actually a Rotten Dog, an OEM driver board that at some point somebody is fighting, I guess, resets, and they put a easy SBC voltage regulator in. Right now that regulator is delivering 4.92, which is okay, but since this thing's got a trim pot on it, I'm going to adjust that up. Somebody, I'm going to say ill-advisedly, replaced all the capacitors on this power driver board, and this one, C30, a through hole was torn at the bridge rectifier, actually, so I removed both components and then cleaned up the traces, used a few rivets to get them back to working order. They replaced these two bridges and the two bridges underneath the heat sink. Again, none of that is necessary. If you really want to serve yourself well, change C4, C2, and if you're competent at board work, change C5. I would change J101 and J114 here before I would change C5, though, because I've seen so many through holes ripped out when people try to remove these 15,000 microfarad snap caps. You've heard me complain about it before. I'll stop. On this board, I replaced power output, GI in, GI out, power input for other than 5 volts, and this is a ground connector that's used on some games, Twilight Zone for instance, I know. And let's see, I did replace that C4 as specified. Somebody had replaced C2 already. And up here on the DMD controller, I measured the voltages and it's fine. It did have a blown fuse. This top fuse was blown. And then I always replace these for 47K resistors. It is my suspicion that those resistors are the first things to go, and then failures cascade throughout the rest of the high voltage section. So I did that on this board. On the sound board, and I don't know if it was operational before or not, but I have replaced the tantalum cap here. That's a 10 microfarad tantalum. Here's a 22 microfarad electrolytic I replaced. One of 5, 6, 7, 47 microfarads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 100 microfarad over here. Both of the big filter caps, 4700 microfarad. And the headers, the sound output headers here were pretty grungy, so while I was there, I replaced those. CPU board, I had to replace the microprocessor because the 6809 was dead, and I installed a 4.27 volt voltage watchdog. And even though it was a brand new header for J210, I hate the headers that Rotten Dog used, so I dispatched that one and put a good Molex 0.156 breakaway. So we are ready to test everything. Of course, the board set was sent. Originally, I guess a client was having resetting issues, but I've done everything that I can to these boards to alleviate resets. If there's any other reset issues, he's going to need to repin as we've discussed before, the female side of J101, and then the female side of J114, and then the female side of J210. If that doesn't do it, there's some other things to do, but there's a very well-defined list in the pin wiki, as you may know, for resolving reset issues. Solenoid test, as you might guess. Slugfest doesn't have a lot of solenoids since it's not actually a pinball machine. Those are all running normally. We'll do the general illumination and come back to the flashers. All working correctly. Yeah. Let's see, we'll do lamps and flashers at the same time. There's your 6 flashers. And all the lamps are operating. I think I skipped sound test. It's very rudimentary. Okay, that was still louder than I thought. 3 sound tests on Slugfest, and those were all working perfectly. So what else can I test? I already tested switches. I tested coils, flashers, lamp matrix, general illumination, sound. Tested the voltages, and obviously we have displays, so we're doing fine there. We can test the display. This is the way you do it. This is what you want to see. I'm going to advance this rapidly by holding down the essentially the coin door up button. Still doesn't go as fast as some WPC games, but it's faster than waiting. Now here, I'm going to let this go at real time, and this is what you want to see at the end of display test. Well, on Slugfest, they must have changed it because it didn't say RAM test OK, which is weird, but that's good to know. Let's see. That's it. I'm going to pronounce this board set good, and I thank you so much for sending it. That is with a Getaway High-Speed 2 ROM in it, so we have confirmed that Slugfest does not issue that RAM test OK at the end of it. Also, with this Getaway ROM, the test can be advanced much quicker than the Slugfest ROM was allowing us. Awesome.